Welcome to Tech Brothers with Amir. In this video, we are going to learn about the data factory. So first of all, I would like to log into the portal.azure.com, and that's where our Azure Data Factory does exist. So Data Factory is a service that is used for ETL. So we have seen in our SSIS packages, we have created those flows where we copy files between two locations or take the data from some SQL table, Oracle table, or any other relational database management systems and load to the file system, or maybe load to the another database system. On cloud, there is a tool that we can use. It's called the Data Factory. So once you log into your Azure portal, there you have option to create that. Here I have already created one, and now I can go ahead and create another one. Now think about that. You have a subscription with on Azure, and you're going to be creating actually your 3 or maybe 4 Azure data factories. One for your dev, where you will be doing development, all that, and then you will be creating another one for your UAT, and then final production. So you will keep pushing the changes from the dev to the UAT, and UAT to the production. So let's say create a data factory and go over all the tabs, what's are available there, and understand how exactly this data factory help us to perform our ETL processes. Okay, here is the data factory. If you click there, it's going to ask you, hey, you want to create the new one? Yes. And I'm going to call this new. Let me, first of all, I have to select the subscription, and then we are going to go resource group. And here I will say A Shehzad dash UAT. So I will consider this one as the UAT data factory, and that's where our all the pipelines and everything will be saved from our dev. So we will move our pipelines or deploy our pipelines from the dev to the UAT. So here is asking, hey, do you want to configure a GitHub or any other account? I'm saying no, I don't want to do that. And let's go ahead and create. So it's creating the new one. Hit the next. So you already got to know that there are multiple data factories you can create with the single subscription. And I have seen customers they will be creating actually three, from one for dev, one for QA, one for prod. Okay, so go to resource, and here we have this option now. So it's a open data factory studio, and then you have a read documentation. Now what happened, I have seen like 4 months ago there was a different tabs here. So it's a author, and now it is changed to the open Azure data factory. So tomorrow maybe when you log in, you will see something different, but it's going to be at least Azure data factories. It doesn't matter they give you the name studio or whatever. So you're going to go ahead and open it. Now this part will open, and you can always log in directly to the Azure Data Factory by typing adf.azure.com. So if you want to get adf.azure.com and log in, it's going to log in, open that directly Azure Data Factory, and you can log in from there. So I have actually multiple data factories. Now this is the first page that's going to open. It's called home page. There are so many components, and I can go in each of them and spend a lot of time. But what we are going to do, we are going to get a quick introduction, and then while we will perform our real-time tasks, that's where we are going to talk a whole lot details. Okay, so think about SSIS or any other tool where you will create those SSIS packages, or some Informatica, maybe you could call it jobs or whatever. So the whole thing is here is called pipeline. So in the pipeline, we will create the ETL activities. So we will, let's say we want to copy the data from folder to folder. We want to run the data flow task that get the data from SQL table, load into maybe Oracle table, that we can be done. So pipelines, think about like a big SSIS package, and you have a create data flow task. Data flow task is like think exactly data flow task like in SSIS, so where you have source, where you have destination, where you can split the data into multiple streams, conditional split. You have a derived column, so you want to write some expressions and all those kind of things. So you have other activities joins, so you can all use all that. So the major, once you have a pipeline inside that, you can also create a data flow. Okay, create a pipeline from template. There are templates available if you want to use them. You can use a lot of templates available, and you can grab one and then change the connection manager to your source and destinations and use it. So that's one of the things. Let's go home back again, and you see that the templates were there. Okay, so now you want to do copy. There are, this is a copy activity that will help you one-time schedule data loads from 90 different sources. You can use that one. This is could be good the learning process. So let's go back here. We are not doing anything like that right now. So cancel this out. Cancel. Okay, so now you configure SSIS integration. Here, if you have SSIS packages, there are multiple types of IRs, so integration runtimes available in Data Factory. So Data Factory, if you are doing cloud to cloud, it will be Azure. Then if you will be involving your on-premises, let's say you want to get the data from your own your network to the Azure, so then you will be doing a self-hosted. And if you have SSIS packages already created, and then you want to use those, then you will be doing SSIS lift and shift. So there are different types of IRs inside the Data Factory, and we will be using those ones in next demos. Set up a code repository if you want to save your code, whatever the changes you make, create a pipeline or data flow, anything in the Git, or you want to use the DevOps, so you can set right there. So these are different starting points available for you. Okay, so here are the videos if you want to take a look on the videos, and there are other more resources available right here, so you can go through them if you like. Now this is the author tab. That's where you are gonna create your a lot of pipelines, and here we have a pipeline. So pipeline is like a SSIS package. You're gonna hit the plus sign and say pipeline, or pipeline from a template. Then we are going to go through this one furthermore. So once you hit a pipeline, it's going to create a empty pipeline or SSIS packages. So think about like solution. In this solution you have further SSIS packages. So pipelines are SSIS packages where you can perform different tasks. You have copy data. Let's say let me copy data. Then I have if I want to use a for each loop or something, so I'll have all those kind of things, so you can connect and work on those. We are gonna go through each and every in details for these tasks. Okay, so now you have pipelines, and then you have a data set. So data sets, if you remember that in SSIS packages, we create the connection managers. So connection manager is a connection to a database server, or to the in Azure, you can say it's a connection to a blob or any source, and then inside that source, let's say you're writing query to get the data, so it will be data set. The main connection to the source will be called the linked service, and then connection to the that specific object, such as table or file or all that, is going to be data set. Okay, so you have data flows. You can go ahead and create a new data flow here, and you can create a folder, and inside your folder you can have different data flows. Same way here you have also option to you monitor pipeline, clone pipeline, move items, download support files. These are very important if you are sending your files. Let's say you are having problem with your Microsoft this Azure Data Factory, and you want to send files to somebody. You can download the support files and send all these JSON files to Microsoft, and they can take a look. If you want to delete, you can go ahead and delete. Okay, now Power Query, I haven't used it anywhere here, but I will explore in next sessions. If I will learn it, I will teach you guys too. So now what we are going to do, we are going to go to monitor, and that's where you have your dashboard, where you can see pipelines, where you have activity triggers. So triggers, when you want to in if you guys came from background with the SQL Server, you have those SQL Server agent, right? And then in the SQL Server agent, we create the SSIS jobs and run them and schedule time. So triggers are something like that. You have different type of triggers, schedule, tumbling, windows, and all those different triggers. So these triggers can be configured. Event-based triggers are there too. If the file is placed in a folder, you want to trigger the activity, and that will run your pipeline. So those are there, and here you're going to see the pipeline run. So whatever the pipelines you has been executing, you are going to see right there, and you can filter them last 30 days, 7 days, and all that, and all pipelines. If you want to select only one pipeline status, succeeded, in progress, queued, failed, cancelled. So you can filter your reports for your pipelines and add filter. Excuse me. You can add further filters here for this report. You can just list or different format of seeing the things. All right, so trigger runs, whatever the triggers are run. So these are all the triggers that will run for your pipelines. So maybe event-based trigger or schedule or whatever the triggers. So you're gonna see the trigger name and all those information right there. So it's very important for your reports, like which trigger executed which pipeline, and are they disabled or they are started or they are enabled and all that. So you can see from the status and pipelines and run and everything. So you have run ID attached with each of the execution. Now you have runtime sessions here and integration runtimes. So when you create a Azure Data Factory, what happened? One integration runtimes comes with it. It's called auto resolve integration runtime. So you see that it is already executing or run in so this, whenever I'm going to create, let's say I want to read the data from my blob and load the data to the Azure SQL Server, so it will use this IR. We call it IR because integration runtime, so short for is IR. Okay, so you can create actually different types of IR, and I have explained you guys, like here is self-hosted, Azure, and Azure SSIS. So these are the three one that you can create. So mostly if we do Azure, I will show you guys why you do that. Azure, once you create the IR, what happened? Maybe for you want to use these IRs in pipelines, right? To run your pipelines. So if you do IR with the 4 core and different computer, you can give that. If you want to have one big pipeline and you want to give more compute, you can have another IRs. So you can use that IR maybe with 128 cores, so a different computer. So you can create multiple IRs and then use them in different pipelines. So it's like a compute or power you give to different pipelines to run. One IR can be enough depending on your scenario. So if you have multiple IRs, your pipelines can use them as well. So self-hosted, when you need to read the data from your on-premises and or write the data to your on-premises SQL Server or folder on your on-premises, that's where you will configure self-hosted. And Azure SSIS is when you have SSIS packages and you wanna use them. So you will do up lift and shift. So you will deploy them SSIS packages to the Azure SSIS IR, and then you will call them in the pipeline and execute them by triggers. So that's how you will do that. So you will not be making a whole lot changes to your SSIS packages, but you will be still able to use them, read the data from on-premises or cloud, and write the data to different data sources as well. We'll go through all of these. So don't worry about that one. So by default, when you create the Azure Data Factory, what's going to happen is going to create one IR, and that will be used to run our pipelines. And here is data flow debug. So if you are creating the data flows in your pipelines and you want to see debugging status and all that, you are going to see right here. Okay, so then you have final alerts and metrics that you can set up alerts, let's say on failure, on success, and all those kind of different statuses of your pipeline. You just want to send an email and all that, you can set right here. You can create a new alert, and you will configure that, and it will send you emails and notification or SMS, like a text message and all that. So you can do all those different things here in the alerts and metrics. Now the last part is manage. Here what you're gonna do, you're gonna see the linked services. So linked services are the connection to your blob or your SQL, Azure SQL Server or any other data source. And then that's what you will use. And don't be confused with the linked services and data set. So linked services, as I told you, like let's say you are connected with the Azure SQL Server, that will be your linked service. And then if you want to use a table from there, write a query to get the data, that will be your data set. Here integration runtimes, so as we have already spoken about it, like integration runtime is a compute infrastructure to provide the following data integration capability across different network environment. So as we have already spoken about it, there are different types of IR such as Azure self-hosted and Azure SSIS. So there are three types of that, and we can create them depending upon our scenarios from where we want to read the data and where we want to write the data. And if we need to use SSIS packages in Azure, so that's Azure SSIS, so we have to use that. So we will go through that one. And then Azure Purview, I have not used this one, but I will explore it while we will create the videos. And then finally we will get to this one. So connect an Azure Data Factory to Azure Purview will enable you discover trusted and accurate data across your hybrid environment. So I have to study this feature, and then we can come up with like what exactly it does, maybe create a demo on it. Okay, Git configuration, that's very important when you are going to create your Azure Data Factory. I recommend you configure your Git, because if in case I have seen people, they delete their Azure Data Factory, and then inside your Azure Data Factory you have IRs, you have pipelines, data flow and everything, so that will be all gone. Now if you have not done git configuration, so there is no backup to restore. Okay, so you want to make sure you have that git enable, and also for your continuous integration and continue deployment, what you need to set up the git and use maybe Azure DevOps for that. So from the as I told you, you can have multiple Azure Data Factories, and in starting you have a dev, and then you want to deploy to the QAT, and then you want to deploy to the prod data factory. So you will be using Azure DevOps for that. So there are a lot of helpful resources that you can use and study about that. We will create that scenario in our case as well. Now ARM template, that's where it's very important. So you can export the entire your data factory and say export and save it. I have created a video how you can export and import ARM template. Well, in that scenario, what I did, I have exported and then restored with a different name. So you are taking the backup actually when you're exporting ARM template, and then you can import back in case you somebody drop your data factory. But with the git configuration, once you have everything done, you don't have to take the backup from using the ARM export ARM template, because every time you're going to deploy and publish your changes to the your data factory, an ARM template, ARM underscore template.json file will be created automatically. So if in case you lose your data factory, you can always come here and import from the git. All right, so but this is important in case you don't have your git setup, you can always export and then keep that. And once if in case you want to restore with a different name or restore on the same data factory, you can import ARM template. That's actually the definition of all the pipelines, data sets, linked services and everything. Okay, so now ARM template parameter, that's very important as well. So if you want to do the deployment and you want to parameterize that, change the value from maybe dev server to the QA server and prod server, and you are using those parameters here, you can use and edit, and then use the Azure DevOps and change the value while the creating the release for the deployment. So we will go through this one as well. Now triggers, you know that triggers are the objects that can run your pipelines. Okay, so we will create a trigger. Let's say I want to create a scheduled trigger that runs every day 9 a.m. and run some pipelines. I can use that one. There are event-based triggers when the file is placed in a folder, and then these trigger keep looking for it, and once that file is placed, they will trigger the pipeline. So different triggers are available, and I will show you guys how to do that too. Okay, global parameters. if you coming up with the background for SSIS, so you guys know that there are project level parameters. So think about these guys the same way. So you have these global parameters, and you can save server name, your maybe storage for name and all that, or storage path, and then use them in multiple pipelines. So it will reduce your work while you deploy, because you can use these parameters. Maybe if you are connecting to SQL Server in 100 pipelines, so you don't want to create a parameter inside the pipeline, and save that information 100 times. You want to just create a global parameter and then use this parameter inside your each pipeline. So it will help you, reduce the code, and also help you when you are deploying the code from the dev to the UAT and prod. So you can only change one parameter value, and that will happen. All the pipeline inside the connection strings will be pointing to the newly deployed server. So you can change use this one, and actually it really helps. I have seen this one, and there is a parameter limit in the deployment when you are creating this ARM template and all that. There's 256 parameters you can have actually in your data factory. As of now is we are talking about July 2021, so maybe they will change that. But right now, if you have more than 256 parameters, you're going to have a problem in the deployment. It's not going to let you deploy that. So by using global parameters, you can actually reduce the number of parameters for each of the pipeline, because you are using the same maybe server name in multiple places. So you can use this one, and it will be one value when you will be deploying it, instead of 20 values in different pipelines. So think about manageability, and code reduction, and in the deployment it helps. The same way I have told you, like you have project parameters in SSIS. So once you set for one, and it can be used across multiple SSIS packages. Now, customer manage key. This one, if you are this in customer managed key allows you to encrypt your Azure Data Factory using your own key. So if you are not providing the key, that's fine. What it does, Azure Data Factory encrypt your data by the Microsoft product itself for this. So they use the manage entity, and they do that. But if you want to use your own, so it will be using yours and Microsoft's together, and it helps to keep the data safe on rest. So these are all tabs we have here, and the best way to get started, I mean, yeah, it's good to go over these things, but tomorrow you might have a totally new items. So in the old ones, we had a connection here and all those kind of things, but they are gone. Now they keep changing these all, so every day. So look for the new tabs, explore them, and learn it. And now in the next videos, we will create some pipeline that can load some data. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in next video.